What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. So in this video we're gonna put the Eclipse on hold a little bit. So basically we're going to be making two brackets for oil coolers on the RX8. So the reason that we're doing this is because the owner plans on boosting it pretty soon here. So he just wants to like get all the essentially what's it called? Supporting mods. There it is. The owner did already purchase two Mishimoto oil coolers instead of the one factory one that's on here. He's already got a built motor in this thing. He's got I don't remember if he said he's got a built transmission, but I think he did modify some stuff in the transmission. He's got oil pumps, everything basically ready for boost, besides the actual turbo setup, and obviously oil coolers, you know, whatever. So basically he wants them to fit just like this one is on this side, which does have obviously the factory bracket for it. So I think we're going to be recreating this factory bracket, obviously modified to fit the Mishimoto oil cooler, out of some sort of aluminum, probably like angle iron or whatever, something that's going to look pretty good. And we're basically going to mirror that, and then we're basically going to mirror that bracket for this side, and then, you know, obviously that way he can mount both the oil coolers, and then he's going to run the lines and everything on his own. So I'm just making the brackets. I just wanted to make a video on this car because to me this is like a proper build. Like at least to me it seems like there's no expense spared. He just wants to do it right and do it once and not have any issues with it. So I do hope that whenever he does take the next step and you know, goes on to install the turbo kit, that he'll come to me for any help that he may need with that, even though he does do most of this stuff himself. It's just like fabrication and stuff like that he doesn't have the tooling for. So yeah, but check this thing out. I need these wheels for my DSM, guys. If anybody wants to send me a set, I'll take them. He's got Willwoods on this thing. I mean, everything is just freaking nice. Like this RX8 looks good. Like, it makes me like the RX8s, even though I really don't, I'm not a huge fan. But it just looks right, you know what I mean? So yeah. I'm actually gonna go ahead and put it on the lift and drop the bumper on there. Be a little easier to kind of work my way around that bracket and the oil coolers on the lift instead of just doing it on the ground. Alright guys, so just looking at it, it doesn't seem like it's going to be a terribly hard to do this. All I have to do essentially is make a plate for the top brackets, obviously with two holes to line up with the original factory ones, and then it's just going to have to go around these fittings and then mount to these holes right here to hold it like this. And then on the bottom side, I just gotta make a big plate that's essentially just a flat plate that'll just go between these side holes and just this one here. And that should be pretty simple to do. So I'm gonna get started. I gotta try to find some to make this out of. So hopefully we'll have this one mounted pretty soon. All right, so I did just draw all this out, but the way I drew it out, it would have to be laying flat on here to be perfectly sized for this. But not thinking about it, there's gonna have to be either nuts or bolt heads between this and these brackets. So what I did was, I'm gonna give each of these lengths half an inch extra to have a little bit of room to bend it up, you know what I mean, to clearance that bolt head. So it's gonna be laying flat here, then it's gonna bend up, and then it's gonna, you know, go across, then bend down, and lay flat against this section here. So I'm just gonna cut 2 out for now. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna give it half an inch, or I'm gonna give it 3/4 of an inch extra just to be safe here. And if anything, I could always cut a little bit off the end. So all right, so I'm just gonna cut these 2 out, and then the other side, I'm gonna wait until later to bolt it up and then see how much of that bend is gonna be, because obviously this is not gonna fit perfectly in between that bracket over there. So. Again, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just bend this inner section up just a hair to be able to put bolts so that the bolt heads will fit on the bottom here. And that's all I wanted to do, and obviously I'm gonna have to drill the holes for these, but that's gonna be a little bit later. So, measure this out. Let's do 1 inch. Okay, so now we're just gonna bend this section up, and then make another bend right after it to even it back out, and do the same thing on the other side. So now we got this, and that's just gonna go just like that. So I overestimated the length, so I gotta remark this. So I'm just gonna mark the same exact spot on here, and that is where it's gonna start turning back down. Now I'm just gonna cut this excess piece off, and that's gonna be pretty much finished for this bracket. I'm just gonna have to drill the holes, and then we'll mock it up and see how it looks. All right guys, so there's the first mounting bracket. I'm gonna put it on the belt sander and kind of smooth out the edges as much as I can, as well as this edge here, because it is a little hard, you know, holding it perfectly straight while it's going through the bandsaw here. But I still have to drill the holes for the AN fittings, and obviously all the mounting holes. But other than that, that's one top side bracket pretty much finished up. All right, so now I just gotta mark where I'm gonna drill these holes. It's pretty easy. All I gotta do is measure, Obviously they're going to be centered this way, you know, widthwise. I just got to measure the length here. So this is where the two big AN holes are going to be drilled. Now I just got to mark these side little holes. Or I'm going to drill these first, and then I'm going to mark the side ones. So I just drilled the holes for the AN fittings. So this is what it's going to look like. So I didn't want to bring this up too high and too close to where these fittings are going to go, because I don't want to hit it. I don't want the fittings hitting this. I think this has enough clearance to where that won't be an issue. So as you can see, there's just enough room in here to put a bolt, put two bolts, and then we'll put nuts on the top side through those brackets that are original to the car. So now I'm going to mark the holes on here where the screws are going to go to bolt this bracket to the cooler. So I'm just going to flip it over. The easiest way to mark it is like this way I know for sure it'll be all right. So put a circle here, here and here. So now we got our screw holes. So I do have to deburr this. I'm gonna deburr these little edges from where I was drilling it, and then drill these holes, and then we're gonna put it up on the car, and I'm gonna mark the two holes for the original brackets, and that's gonna be that. There we go. Time to put it on the car. Actually, I'm just going to take some measurements here. This is where the holes need to be. There are the two holes that are going to mount to the body, the four holes that are going to mount to the cooler, and then just the two clearance holes for the AN fittings. So we got the bottom bracket bent up, I think. Basically gonna go like that. I just gotta cut off these little two ends because they are extra. All right, so now I gotta mark the mounting holes for the cooler on this lower bracket that I made. So I'm just gonna set it on top here, center it out, and mark them. So here are the mounting holes. I'm gonna go drill these out and then we'll mount it onto here and go put it back on the car and mark that lower hole, the 1 bolt that goes through that lower bracket. And that's gonna be essentially the end of the one side, and then the other side we're just gonna replicate the same thing. So there is my very crude mark, but it'll be just fine. I'm gonna drill the hole a little bigger, that way it has a little bit of wiggle room. I just gotta drill a hole right around here. I'm gonna drill it a little bigger so it's got a little bit of wiggle room, because he is gonna be putting a different bumper on it. So we might have to adjust these farther down the line, which is why I kind of made all the holes a little bigger, so there's a good amount of wiggle room on the actual cooler itself. But yeah, I'm gonna go drill this hole, and then I think I'm just gonna polish them up, and that's gonna be it. All right, so there it is. Obviously it's not all tightened in all the way yet, but I mean, I'm not gonna tighten it up. You still gotta run the lines and whatnot. So it does look pretty freaking cool. So now I'm gonna go ahead and test fit the bumper one more time, make sure it clears the bracket that I made, and then I'll just replicate these 2 pieces for the other side. So that's the bumper fully seated. There's room behind the fog light, so we're good to go. All right guys, so I polished up the top one. The one's gonna sit up right here. I'm not sure if I'm gonna polish the bottom one or not yet, but basically this is gonna be what the brackets look like. So for the other side, since the mounting, since it's got this exact same setup on the other side, I just have to replicate these brackets, but just flip. Which the only difference is that this hole is a little bit off center here, and I did that on purpose to kind of push this, push the cooler back as far as possible. So that's really the only difference between the right and left bracket set. So yeah, I'm just gonna hit the time lapse. I'm gonna make the other 2 sides, other 2 brackets, and then we'll be done.